Today, I'd like to share some of the features available when connecting a Zetron Max Dispatch or ACOM console to ESChat using the AIS interface protocol. The AIS protocol was developed to connect console systems to DMR radio systems. However, at ESChat, we've adopted it to connect console systems like Zetron to ESChat with a direct digital interface. This demonstration includes a Zetron Max Dispatch console and 6 channels. The channels have been named Talk Group 1000 through 1005. And today's demonstration also has 4 smartphones. We have a Samsung Galaxy X Cover Pro on Verizon. We have a Samsung Galaxy X Cover Field Pro on AT&T. And we have 2 Kyocera DuraForce Pro 2s, both on FirstNet. We've configured our system so that the first 2 phones have their primary channel as Talk Group 1000, and the 2 on the right have their primary channel as Talk Group 1001. Calls can, of course, be initiated from either the dispatch seat or the phone. In these phones, they have dedicated push-to-talk buttons on the side, so we're not using the on-screen push-to-talk option. From the dispatch position, we can initiate a call by selecting the talk group and pressing our push-to-talk button. Now we've put the 2 phones on the left into call on channel 1000, and the talker ID of the dispatch position is showing up in the widget. And vice versa, when we do these connections to dispatch consoles via AIS, the talker ID of the phone is also showing up in the dispatch console. So here we see AT&T Xcover Field Pro 2, and here is the Xcover Pro 2 device. Now we can initiate a second call to the other phones by selecting Talk Group 1001. And now the 2 phones in the right are in a separate call. So we have 2 fully independent calls active right now. The dispatcher can select which one they want to talk on, and audio coming in from the phones will come through the channel that they're a part of. In the dispatch system, there's an audio spatial separation capability, so you can have talk groups come out different locations audibly. For example, one in each ear of the headset. You have pan functionality within the dispatch solution. Now, these calls will end when the pre-configured hang timer expires or when the dispatcher ends the call. One of the benefits of a proper dispatch system is the ability to group your transmit functions. So here, if we group Talk Group 1000 and 1001 from a transmit perspective, we can talk on both channels simultaneously. 1, 2, 3. Now, these are still 2 independent calls. However, the dispatcher is able to talk to both of them simultaneously. So users responding from the phones, their audio is only going to be heard on the channel that they're speaking on. However, again, when the dispatcher speaks, their audio is going to all 4 devices. Now we can remove that transmit grouping. We also have the ability to patch in the dispatch console. So let's configure each of these talk groups to patch 1. And what the patch does, it allows the audio that's coming back from the radios or the phones to cross over between channels. So now users speaking on Talk Group 1000 are not only being heard by other users on Talk Group 1000, but also by the users on Talk Group 1001. One of the elegant features that happens when you connect a dispatch console that's digitally integrated is that the user ID of the talker is being passed between talk groups. So when the Xcover Pro speaks, you see that user ID come out the phones that are on talk group 1001 and vice versa. You, of course, see them on the dispatch console. Now, we can really complete this connection by bridging the talk connections as well. So now the dispatcher is talking to all phones, and the connections are patched so that users speaking are being heard by all users within the call. Now, other functions from the dispatch seat that are common, you can send alert tones. They can be, there's a number of pre-configured alert tones, sirens, or beeps. When needed. So let's go ahead and tear down this grouping. We'll end these calls, and we'll clear the patches. Now, we've set this system up with talk group 1000 or 1002 as an emergency group. So when the dispatcher initiates a call on talk group 1002, it initiates the emergency condition that exists in all phones. So they've got a visual indication and an audible indication that emergency is active. The dispatcher can talk as in a normal group call. Users can respond. And the red box in the middle of the talk group panel indicates that that is an emergency call. Now the dispatcher has to clear that emergency to clear it on all the phones. But we do have the ability for the phones in the field to initiate man down or emergency functions. Now, phones that have dedicated buttons for push to talk and emergency are not going to show an on-screen push to talk button or an on-screen emergency button. And these phones all have a pre-configured side emergency button. So if we initiate an emergency from one of the phones, we'll do it from the Xcover Field Pro. The condition goes alive. It's got an indication at the dispatch position that there's an emergency call. All users are made aware that someone is in duress. And this call will stay in that emergency condition until all users who have declared a duress indication have cleared their condition. So we've now cleared that condition, and now the call has reverted back to a standard group call, which again will end when the predefined hang timer expires or the dispatcher ends the call. Now, some of the other functions that we could do in the dispatch console include going into the call summary window and being able to play back any of the calls that we've just established. The timer for how long calls are preserved is programmable within the system. But in the event that a dispatcher is operating on multiple channels and wasn't able to hear transmissions coming in from a channel while they were busy, they can play that audio back. Another function you could do from the dispatch console is to do private calls. So we've entered in a number of phones and put them on the dispatch. They can also be looked up through a directory, but we can select a phone, and let's go ahead and select the Xcover Field Pro, and we'll initiate a private call from the console to that phone. So the call is ringing on the phone. We'll go ahead and answer it, which has now placed us into a private call with the dispatcher. Again, we still see on the dispatch console the phone that's talking, and we've got one-way communication or two-way communication in a one-to-one call. Now we can still do our other talk group communications. So We can initiate a call back to talk group 1001, for example. And now we've got our phones on the right in that call, and we still have the private call active to the Samsung. And the only phone that's idle now is the Xcover Pro. So that's an overview of some of the capabilities that are possible when you're connecting a proper dispatch solution like the Zetron Max or Zetron ACOM consoles together with ESChat through the AIS integration. If you have any questions, please reach out to us, and we look forward to talking to you soon on another subject.